You're still a Clarity Act, thumbs up, gonna get passed sort of a guy. Yes
I am.
or no?
Listen, there's a few, both Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, who's, a Rhodes Scholar and has got the funniest sayings of any senator ever, maybe. Him and Tillis wanted a little more time just to hash things out with the banks. But there's been a compromise between the banks and the crypto guys that's going to be okay. And so this is going to get done. It probably gets done in May. I would say first week of May is when it goes to the committee. And then, soon after, Trump will be signing this thing in June.
There are moments in markets when everything seems uncertain on the surface, but underneath, the direction is already being decided. And right now, according to insiders, crypto regulation in the United States may be entering one of those defining moments. In this conversation, billionaire investor Mike Novogratz lays out a surprisingly confident timeline for the long-awaited Clarity Act, legislation that could finally bring structure to the crypto industry. After months of delays, political disagreements, and concerns that the window for progress was closing, momentum appears to be shifting fast. What makes this different is the alignment. Both Republicans and Democrats now have strong incentives to get this bill across the finish line. Add to that growing pressure from pro-crypto lawmakers and renewed optimism from figures like Senator Cynthia Lummis and Senator Kevin Cramer, and suddenly, what once looked uncertain is starting to look inevitable. But this isn't just about regulation. This discussion goes much deeper into tokenization, insider trading concerns, geopolitical tensions, and even how AI and Bitcoin are reshaping the future of markets. Stick around, because Novogratz breaks down exactly what's happening behind the scenes and why this moment could matter more than most investors realize. If you're serious about understanding where crypto is heading next, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ensure you stick around to the end. Buy $10,000 of Bitcoin on a regular exchange. It grows to $60,000. That $50,000 profit? You could owe $10,000 or more in capital gains tax. Now do the same trade inside a Roth IRA with iTrustCapital. That growth? Tax-free. You keep the full $50,000. Same crypto. Completely different outcome. iTrustCapital lets you hold crypto in a self-directed IRA, trade 24/7, and secure your assets with institutional-grade custody. You can also hold gold, silver, and stake certain assets. Real U.S. customer support. $100 bonus when you fund through the link below. In crypto, structure beats timing. Every time. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
It's wildly important for it to get done for both Democrats and Republicans. And I said this before, the Clarity Act is going to allow American institutions, SpaceX, Galaxy, Google, you name it, mortgages, corporates, to be tokenized and sold to people around the world, right? There are 8.5 billion people, probably 5.5 billion don't have access to our financial products. Everyone in America has access, but 5.5 people around the world. And so the projection of American power, the projection of our great brands, our way of life, comes through these companies and these products. And this phone with a crypto wallet is going to be the way the kid in Bhutan or Botswana or Bolivia or Paraguay, you name it, is participating in the American economy.
He's going to pay for his Starlink on that. He's going to send Starlink to Bitcoin.
It would be un-American not to pass this bill. Yeah, and the Republicans know that, and they're in charge of both the House and the Senate. If they don't get this thing passed, a pox on their House. And the Democrats, they kind of have all the leverage right now because the Trump administration's polling is going down the tubes. And even with that, they need to get this off the plate so they get all the crypto people to stop funding their opponents. And so you got both sides that have a reason to get this thing passed. You've got a American reason to pass this thing. And certainly Trump could use a win.
So, Michael, this stuff comes from our viewers and our listeners. And the Kobayashi letter, which sometimes you may see that on Twitter, you may see that on X, they have timestamped some situations. I'm just going to read them to you, then I want you to react to them. 8:24 a.m. Friday, someone buys 325 million S&P futures before the market opens. Trump puts out a tweet, and the markets roar. At the same time, timestamp of $760 million in oil shorts are taken. 21 minutes later, The foreign minister of Iran says the Strait of Hormuz is open. And of course, the president has taken to Twitter talking about peace being at hand. By 12:45 p.m., the S&P is hitting a record high, $50 million profit in 4 hours. The position gets closed out. The oil short netted $70 million in the same timeline. What's your gut telling you about this? I know that we in the crypto markets get accused of insider trading. Where is the SEC on all this, in your opinion? And is this just going to be okay now?
When we were kids, there was the old expression, looks like dog poop, smells like dog poop, tastes like dog poop, must be dog poop. Like your bias is someone's up to something no good. What I have faith in, though, is all of this stuff is recorded somewhere. And if it's not this SEC, it'll be the next SEC, or it'll be the New York AG or an AG from somebody else, or it'll be the CFTC that will look into this and say that dog don't hunt. And it's important for American capital markets that people perceive there's fair play. And if there's consistent unfair play or selective prosecution, that's horrible for all us Americans and horrible for capital markets. And so there's been enough of these things that I'm sure there are DAs and prosecutors looking into it. They don't often make arrests on day one or even make accusations. They do a whole lot of homework. I would not want to be one of those guys, even if they made a bunch of money, because there are footprints in the sand. And again, like I said, if you really think it's horrible and the SEC's covering up, they're not that dumb. The next SEC will just look and say, I can't believe you covered this up. Our electronic footprint and fingerprints don't go away. And this stuff is impossible almost to hide in.
Okay. I mean, I'm saying it is an open question because I think it does harm the integrity of the market system. I
Yes.
think, when you have high market integrity, you remember Goldman Sachs partners being pulled off the trading floor. Okay. When we were kids, they were involved with your bunny has a good nose sort of insider trading.
Yeah.
And there was a whole ring of insider traders pulled down, and it scared the daylights out of all of us and forced us all into massive compliance.
I have faith in the American system, and I certainly hope that if there's been that these things that look obvious are being investigated, and if they turn out to be obvious, if the person who's doing these really has links to that administration and had inside knowledge, that they get prosecuted. And like I said, I know lots of people have the mandate to look at those things, right? It could be the New York AG, it could be someone else, it could be the Philadelphia. People figure out their own reason why they think they have jurisdiction, but it's not just the SEC or the CFTC.
What Novogratz is really pointing to here is something bigger than just a regulatory win. It's the potential unlocking of an entirely new financial system. The idea of tokenizing assets like equities, real estate, and even global brands means capital markets could expand far beyond traditional boundaries. For crypto investors, that's not just bullish, it's structural. It suggests demand isn't coming from speculation alone, but from real-world integration into how financial products are created and distributed globally. At the same time, his comments on insider trading highlight a growing tension in markets. As capital flows accelerate and geopolitical events start influencing price action more aggressively, trust becomes everything. If investors begin to question fairness, whether in traditional markets or crypto, it creates volatility that no regulation can fully control. But Novogratz's confidence in enforcement signals something important. The system may be messy, but it's not blind. Now, as the conversation shifts, the focus moves from regulation and market structure to something even more complex: how global conflict, energy risks, and the AI boom are shaping investor behavior in real time. Before we get into that, here's something to think about. Do you believe markets today are still driven by fundamentals, or are they being driven more by narratives like AI and geopolitics? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
The economy continues to do fine, and people think the war is going to end. It hasn't ended, but each time there's a ceasefire, we push it forward, and so they're looking past the war, and they just can't get enough of Korea. They can't get enough of Japan. They can't get enough of AI.
Yeah, just curious there, but Michael, I was at an event this morning. I had a couple of clients with me. Client asked me a very good question. I did my best to field the question, but the question was more or less, am I missing anything? I mean, let's say the Strait of Hormuz doesn't open. There are oil traders in London. I was in London last week. I met with a group of oil traders. Some of them are some of the biggest hedge funds in the world, are saying there's 6 weeks of jet fuel left. There's 3 weeks of this. There's 2 weeks of that. Australia's talking about energy rationing because they can't get energy to the continent of Australia, yet the market's humming. So
And we have politics in the U.S. that are going to create a real, hammer and anvil come November, or really starting coming September, and when you kind of see the midterms play out, and it's not going to be good for the Republicans, and so that shouldn't be good for the market either. The market right now doesn't care because this AI story is so big. I mean, I just think it's that simple, Anthony.
Bitcoin, is it just a tracker to the Qs?
No, Bitcoin is interesting. U.S. retail has come back, period, end of story. And you see it through the ETFs, but mostly you see it through MicroStrategy. Saylor, the wizard of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, is back, and he is selling stock, and he is selling perpetuals, and he is buying Bitcoin, and his premium is expanding, not contracting. What it means by now, you're 130 times NAV. His MNAV is 130 relative to the Bitcoin he owns. And so he can sell MicroStrategy and make money, create yield, as he says, for his investors. He dilutes his new investors, current investors, or dilutes his new investors, and it's accretive to new investors, to old investors. And so it's a strategy that he's almost the only guy that actually has this strategy built in. He had all these other DATs that tried it. They all trade at discounts. But Michael has managed to create this cult of people that trust him and that buy MicroStrategy as their Bitcoin proxy. They buy it as MicroStrategy, and it's working. And that is, he bought $2.5 billion of Bitcoin last. There's not enough supply to eat up $1 billion $1 billion a week from MicroStrategy. Listen, the only companies that are going to thrive and succeed in this are companies that are using AI for defense, right? If you think about how relentless AI can be, it doesn't get tired, it doesn't stop. You're going to have it as your defense, and you're going to have, as he, set up like the old samurai. We're talking about Japan, where there's one line of defense, and if that cracks, there's the next line, and there's the next line, and there's the next line, and you shut things down around problems. And so I think there's going to be a whole bunch of companies that don't have that sophistication that could get smoked. And as that starts happening, you're going to see more and more calls for AI regulation. But there is a bull market in security, and that all that security by definition has to be AI.
But Michael, can this help the Bitcoin core developers in creating quantum resistance for Bitcoin?
Listen, if you can use AI for offense, you can use it for defense. If we're going to get quantum, we're going to get quantum resistant. So the answer is yes. All of it is yes. It's just a coordination problem. So I think the Bitcoin community is not dumb, right? By definition, the whole premise of Bitcoin was based on people are going to make rational decisions. And so it is rational for the core developers to implement the changes necessary to not have the thing get smoked. And so my Occam's razor answer is going to be, this is a real worry, but it's a worry that will definitely get dealt with.
This is an obscure thing, but I think it's very meaningful, Michael. So I'm going to address it. Okay. Admiral Samuel Paparo, who I'd never heard of before. He is the head of the Indo-Pacific Command, or Indo-Pac, as we call it. And he gave testimony this week, and he said that he is running a live Bitcoin node from his effectively PACCOM, which is the other side of the world from CENTCOM. And he says he's conducting these operational tests using the Bitcoin protocol to secure military networks on the base, What do you think about that?
That's kind of cool. Hats off. Hats off. Listen, you know, Bitcoin is one of the most secure databases in the world, period. There is a fortune spent keeping the security of Bitcoin, right? This entire array of miners all around the world, in Iran, in the US, you name it, all participate in keeping Bitcoin a secure blockchain. It's the most decentralized chain. It costs the most to secure. That cost is for a reason, so you can't, run a 51% attack on the thing. It just makes me smile.
It's just interesting. I think it's more evidence that the U.S. government recognizes the power of the protocol, and I think we're going to find it in way more ways exponentially over the next several years.
What stands out in this part of the discussion is the disconnect between reality and market behavior. On one hand, you have ongoing geopolitical tensions, energy supply concerns, and political uncertainty. On the other hand, markets continue to push higher, largely fueled by optimism around AI and technological growth. This isn't unusual, but it does suggest that investors are choosing to look forward rather than react to present risks. And that's where Bitcoin enters the picture in a unique way. Novogratz highlights the return of U.S. retail and the growing influence of institutional proxies like MicroStrategy. This dynamic is critical because it shows how demand is evolving. It's no longer just about direct Bitcoin ownership, it's about financial engineering, leverage, and new ways for capital to gain exposure. That changes how cycles behave and potentially extends them. The conversation around AI adds another layer entirely. If AI becomes both the greatest offensive and defensive tool in markets and cybersecurity, then the implications for crypto are massive. From quantum resistance to network security, Bitcoin isn't standing still, it's adapting, and as Novogratz points out, the incentives are aligned for it to survive and evolve. Perhaps one of the most overlooked points here is the quiet integration of Bitcoin into institutional and even military frameworks. When systems that prioritize security begin experimenting with blockchain technology, it signals long-term validation that goes far beyond price action. These are the kinds of developments that don't always move markets immediately, but they shape the future in profound ways. So when you step back and look at everything together, regulation nearing completion, global capital expansion through tokenization, AI, reshaping industries, and Bitcoin gaining deeper institutional relevance, it becomes clear that we're not just in another cycle. We may be in the early stages of a much larger transition. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Are we underestimating how big this shift could be, or is the market getting ahead of reality? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.